Picture yourself and 213 of your close friends on a slow boat to China. The suit that you're wearing has cantaloupe stains. Yuck. And suddenly, someone is serving you papers. And who knows what he has for brains? I certainly do not. Incidentally, over there by the Statue of Libertines, is that a bird or a plane or something?
Hello there, colleagues across town, across the globe. Where I am, it is the 20th of October in the year of our Lord, 2022. Maybe it's tomorrow where you are, but that doesn't matter. We're all here and we're in this together. Isn't that cute? And speaking of that introduction from Bali Shade, one of my favorite, I wanted to bring 213 close friends here tonight to be with us, but you know, for one thing, the table is not that big, and for another thing, I have three of the most talented investigators in my operation here with me tonight. They know things that even I don't know, and I try to tell you everything you need to know about what's going on and what's coming up. All right, you know the routine. You've been here before, and some of you have been listening to me for almost a decade, and I hope you've learned a few things. Let me tell you who has come with me tonight from my huge staff of investigators. Person number one, Noah Perrin Treason. Noah is a pretty famous guy because he is right now the conductor of the Second Baptist Equestrian Band. They're out of Fishkill, New York. I visit there periodically. I know, Noah, I know a little bit about the band from watching them play at halftime football game things. I know most of the people in the band play kazoo, right?
Yes, well, we had a bit of issues with the various talents, and we had some competition in our marketing concerns. For example, we launched a line of cello pudding pops, right? You know, to help people with their own sleep issues. And anyway, my attorney says I need to stay at least 20 feet from both genders.
Well, sleep issues, what you're saying is, at least the way I understand it, a lot of these people technically are not awake when they are marching.
Yes.
That's right. And also you have a cello player, but while everyone else is on horseback, I understand he, or she, I'm sorry, she is not actually on horseback because it's kind of difficult to get a cello on the...
Yes, it's all done through holograms.
Okay. You are also an investor in the Fair Trade for Mammals group. They operate out of a garage in Schenectady. I don't know why you spend so much time in New York, but save that for another show. Anyway, are you saying that reptiles are treated better than mammals in, you know, trade negotiation?
Well, they always get served drinks first, you know, with the happy hour between the reptiles, the amphibians, and the whatever else, the whole zoological moment. I think they get the first dibs and they get the best drinks.
Okay, I can't argue with that because I've never served drink. I've done a lot of things in my time, but not serving drinks, at least those. Now, you're also a past president of Sentence Construction with the Building Social Platforms group, right? Mm-hmm. And that must be pretty stimulating work.
Well, actually, I'll give you the scoop here tonight. We're in a partnership that we're about to announce for media platforms hosted by Darnwell Drunk, Elon's Musk, and Oye Hearsay Ozobe. And we're about to launch a social media post editing tool called Sentence Reform.
Now that rings a bell somehow, but you know, another thing that rang one of my bells, your new book, your current book, Navigating Republican Garage Sales. Uh, it's a fascinating book, and it's now in the 16th pressing. You've added a whole lot of new information, but what I don't understand is there some big difference between like Republican garage sales and like the Baptist garage sales you used to have?
Yes, the Baptists have more in the closet.
Oh yeah, right, right. Anyway, antiquity came here tonight to impart some wisdom. You may know Anne because she is famous. She's a leading authority on uses of sarcasm in difficult negotiations. They produce public service announcements about carefully crossing streets, you know, that sort of thing, eating more vegetables, and advising children not to join the circus right away.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I have a particular love of children because I have at least 5 that I'm aware of. I do have a couple of maternity suits pending, but you know, we'll see
Number
how those
could
go.
change.
Yeah, number
Yeah.
could change.
No,
You just
okay.
never know.
You're also a spokesman for the Denver area chapter of the Descendants of Mythical Heroes. Fascinating area. Maybe I'm not saying enough about it. I'm not from Denver,
Well, mythical heroes, they're always they're pretty important because you know, you never know when they're going to come up. Because I'm also a lawyer, and one of the cases I'm handling right now between the you know, there's a whole lot of he said, she said, it said kind of things.
Right.
And my number one it said case right now is between it's a can of soup that wanted to see a Van Gogh painting very closely, like at very close range. And apparently the painting did not agree, and there's a whole thing about it. You may have seen it on the news, but I'm representing the can of soup.
Oh, good for the can of soup. I hope somebody of equal ability is, you know, taking care of the painting. But you have a background as an actress. I mean, I'm not the kind of person who is, you know, overwhelmed by celebrities, but you're famous for developing the smoke it while it's lit technique. And I think a lot of people use that. I mean, not just actors and actresses, but professionals in all walks of life.
And that's true, because if it's not lit, how are you going to smoke it? You're not going to get anything out of it. And if it's lit and you're not smoking it, you're going to drop it on the ground, and it's going to, you know, burn something, probably your lap, and you want your lap to be intact.
One more thing before I let you go. I mean, I'm not going to let you go because you're here, but your new book, it sort of confuses me. It's called Exploring Norway on $785 a day. Now, when I see these travel books, they're usually letting people know how you can get by on $5 a day or $10 a day when you go traveling. $785 a day sounds a little steep.
Well, I mean, sure it does, but you know, the $5, $10 market, that's kind of saturated at this point. So, you know, the book itself costs $59.95, and that's for paperback. So you don't even want to know what hardcover costs. So I
It comes with a CD when you buy the hardcover,
oh,
right?
it sure does. It sure does. And if you get the box set, I show up to your house and I bring you some dinner from Sweden or something like that.
That is
so,
fascinating.
Yeah, so I'm not too concerned about the audience being able to afford that. I think I
Okay.
found my niche.
Well, I know one guy who bought one, and that's Sal Manello. And Sal is here tonight. Well, I think this is the first time Sal's been with us here. His latest job, I'm trying to look for the exact words, is as a director of Older Americans for Better Air Circulation. He's saying, as I understand it, that usable oxygen is not just for lawyers and flag wavers anymore.
That's true, boss. I'm actually quite proud of my achievements in that area because, you know, I think oxygen should be available for all, but my revolutionary contribution to this is I came up with a way to use a mole sieve with a 9A resin as a method of purifying oxygen, so that opened the floodgates for oxygen for all.
Okay, and you have in the past served as the U.S. representative, the only one, for contact with species not of this earth. As I understand it, you found out about certain advanced techniques from Joint Intelligence Group for Understanding Extraterrestrial Jokes, and so you pass some of this along to the general public. I mean, it used to be classified.
Right, and actually, as a background on that, boss, I don't know if you know, but this actually fell out of some of my experience with some of the dating sites that I was on that where you could date people from other species.
Okay, did that work out well for you? I mean,
dating sites typically don't work out well for me.
Okay. Now, you, this is important to me. You are currently a consultant to the Food as Fuel Study Group. That's in Schenectady, New York, where, where Noah is working these days. Well, the theme is you urge people to moo, not spew. But what are some of the foods you're looking at as fuel?
Well, as luck would have it, boss, I have one example is odd smelling fruit tends to make tremendously good fuel, and we're still looking into the chemistry of why that is the case. But odd smelling fruit, I think, is going to be a real hit.
I have seen a lot lately about odd smelling fruit. I think there's a festival in Georgia somewhere where they display, or they may even eat some of this odd smelling.
They do a lot of things in Georgia, boss.
Yeah, they do. Now you have a book also, and it's called Hunting and Fishing in Central Park. This is one of the shortest books I've ever seen. It's only about 7 or 8 pages. I mean, depending on whether you download it or actually buy it.
Yeah, or get the CD. But yeah, well, it's a short. What happened, boss, is I was under contract to write a book, but they didn't tell me that they had no control over what I could write it over. So since hunting is illegal and there's no body of water to fish in Central Park, presto, seven pages of dribble
and most of those 7 pages.
Take it all to the bank.
Okay. All those 7 pages are talking about adjacent counties. Anyway.
Those are the best kind of counties to have.
I mean, if you're looking for a fun book to read while you're at Central Park, you know, sitting on a bench, that's the one I would recommend.
It also has some, you can color in it as well if you're...
I have colored all of them in my copy because it comes with a box of crayons. You're very thoughtful that way.
They're all black, but you know, because I got a deal on black crayons as opposed to multicolored crayons.
Okay, let's talk about now that you know who's with me. Let's talk about some of the things that are going on. As usual, it seems like lately when we talk about what's going on, we start with the world of Donald Trump and a bunch of those boxes at Mar-a-Lago. You think we have said it all before, but this guy, this ex-president, doesn't know when to stop. He loses legal battles, if you want to call them that, and then he appeals and drags things out. He recently, or I should say his lawyers recently, appealed to the Supreme Court because they want the special master to review documents that either have been written on with a Sharpie or they're wet because somebody tried to get rid of them, I guess, or they have food stains. The Supreme Court looked at the arguments and basically they said, sorry, sorry, no chance of our taking this case. But I mean, when you think about it, what did Trump really expect from the Supremes?
Set me free, why don't you, babe?
Yeah, I guess that is.
Boss, can I be Diana Ross?
I think she left the group, but if you want to leave the group, I mean, yeah, that's a good way to start. Let me just go a little bit further with the Trump saga. I'm going to call it the Trump saga. He has recently received a subpoena from the January 6th Commission after the Supreme Court told him to go play ball. He is now saying this is a show trial, referring to the work of the committee. But that doesn't mean he's not interested. He likes shows, so he said, maybe I will testify. It's fascinating watching what's going on. Now, some of his allies are in big trouble. You may know that the Oath Keepers are currently involved in a court proceeding that's going to last for several more weeks. What we have to contribute to this story, phenomenal as usual. One of my investigators sitting here at this table was able to get a copy of that oath that the Oath Keepers take. And it's kind of, I mean, here's an excerpt. You have somebody saying that they're being of sound and mind. Usually, those don't have and in between them, sound and mind. That's the first, I noticed that right away. But it also says, I will serve the republic of manly bigness in all the ways shown to me, including possession and possible use of certain armaments advertised on cereal boxes. We have another interesting cereal box that I've come across lately. But anyway, you've now seen parts of the oath for the first time. We couldn't get the whole thing because apparently it's written on a roll of toilet paper. And so this is like one of the sheets. There you go. So it's not just the Trump Organization and the January 6th actors, if you will, who are having some problems right now. It's also most of the Republicans who are running right now for re-election. They want control of Congress again. Let's start with Mr. McCarthy, who wants to be the Speaker of the House. Well, he is having an operation to have another mouth surgically affixed. Now, why is that? You may recall that he has been speaking out of both sides of his mouth. After January 6th, first he said, President Trump is to blame. That's basically what he said. And then after kissing some boots, he started talking about what a nice guy. Anyway, if he has
mouths overrated.
Anyway, if he has two mouths, he can now speak 4 ways about many subjects. And I think that's what the surgery is all about. Another person in the news a lot lately is Marjorie Taylor Greene. And some of the things she says are pretty amazing. So, first of all, you remember how she talked about lasers last year when we were talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, what lasers were doing to voting booths and things like, well, she also believes that lasers are being used to mess up Don Trump's hair, which under ordinary circumstances would be sort of a monument to perfection.
Well, boss, it's funny that you mentioned monuments because, as it turns out, she has spoken with a representative who spoke to me, who said that they are also turning Confederate monuments into Union monuments. So perhaps there's something to be said for that.
She
These
usually
lasers are
is.
powerful.
She usually is ahead of the curve on things like that.
It's like water into wine.
Water into wine. Yeah, I heard that said.
There's a lot of whining.
Okay, okay. You know what she said the other day? On television, no doubt, because, well, I mean, she didn't intend it to be on TV. She was talking to some personal friends, but it was on TV. She said the Democrats are already killing people. Well, naturally, I took that with a grain of salt. I thought it was hyperbole, and then I saw this bulletin in the know comment journal. Now, let me say something about that first of all. My investigators, and all 213 of them now obviously contribute, have begun to create their own journal because people are always stealing news tips from individuals like you see here. And my investigators have decided that they're just going to publish these things themselves. But look at that story again. It is mentioning that this slaughter of Democrats took place at the odd-smelling fruit festival. You were talking about odd-smelling fruit as potential fuel, and I know some of you always go to that festival. Noah, you go to the festival, don't you?
Actually, I contribute to the artistic table. This is my homage to cod-smelling fruit. I really indulge the typos.
I see.
See?
So I haven't seen anything about what Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing to the codfish community.
She's inside the codfish.
Inside the cod. Okay, that explains a lot.
That explains the smell.
Okay. So anyway, I don't know whether to believe it or not. Apparently, she is slaughtering Democrats, but I don't know if that's the same thing as killing them. She does have a new book, though. Her new book, Why Literacy is Overrated, which is some sort of breathless indictment. Actually, she doesn't claim to be the author of this book. If you'll notice, looking at the slide there, it's by Marjorie Taylor, a.k.a. Green Jean. We talked, I think, previously about how she wanted to lead the Green Party. She tends to misunderstand things about foreign affairs, but the Green Jean Party, led by Liz Truss, is in chaos right now. Well, maybe we'll get to that in a minute.
I thought she was an expert. Pardon me. I thought she was an expert in affairs, boss, from what I've read in the news. But perhaps those aren't foreign affairs. Those may be domestic affairs.
Mostly domestic, yes. Another guy to watch, Mehmet Oz, he's trying to take a seat from the lieutenant governor, Mr. Fetterman. And what's happened lately there is that these guys have sort of done a role reversal in the sense that Dr. Oz is now appearing for some of his campaign rallies in sweatpants, you know, the sort of wardrobe popularized by Mr. Fetterman. And Mr. Fetterman is apparently embarking on an apple juice regimen. I don't think he is studying human poop yet, but I think he's mentioned that some of what Dr. Oz is saying is poop.
He's missing out.
Yeah.
He's missing out the study of poop.
Yes. You know, Dr. Oz is not really from Pennsylvania. I'm sure you know this. He's not really from Pennsylvania, and so that's been a campaign issue lately. He moved from his old giant headquarters,
The hot seat of poop.
the hot seat of poop, yes,
New Jersey.
in New Jersey, to a rundown shack in Pennsylvania. You see a picture of it there. I guess this is kind of playing to the crowd. You know what I'm. You know what? That's how they describe it usually.
He's definitely not in Kansas anymore, boss. That's for sure.
No, no. And as a matter of fact, we're not even going to talk about who's running in Kansas. They're not funny enough for this show.
I mean, it seems that seems about right because everybody that Oz is surrounded by is cowardly and lying. So
That's wizardry. That's what I call. Yes, that's wizardry on your part. Another race that's getting a lot of attention: Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock. Now, the big story lately has to do with the fact that Herschel Walker apparently pressured a woman to get him a badge that he could display at odd times. And it just so happens he displayed a badge at that recent debate, didn't he? Yes, and that I think it calls him a police mascot. I'm not sure what that means, but we have been looking for that badge. We like to bring you the evidence if we can get a hold of it. And look at that. Noah seems to have
BYOB.
yeah, bring your own badge, okay? And that looks real good on you there, Sal.
Pretty much everything looks real good on me, boss. What can I do?
Yeah, and it shows you're sort of an authority, and you have the handcuffs. Well, so I mean, all of us are important, and I even have some more badges. I mean, you can't see what they are, but you know. Just in case anybody asks us about our credentials, we're ready to go. But I'm not so sure about Herschel Walker's. You see, Herschel, he says some pretty silly things. He was saying during and after the debate, he was saying that Biden and Warnock are the same. They're the same? You know, I have good visual acuity, and I even know what people sound like. But just for the record, there's Joe Biden, okay, and then there's Raphael Warnock. To me, they don't look like the same guy, but my investigators told me there's another individual out there, probably somebody connected with covert intelligence activities. His name is Raphael Biden, or he sometimes goes by Joe Warnock, and he does seem to be the same person.
It's very evocative.
So evocative is the word I was looking for. I think I left it in the car. But anyway, I just don't know what to think of what Herschel says. So another luminary among the Republicans, and he's not really needing to worry about a race at the moment. That's Matt Gaetz, and he has just had one lawsuit dismissed. You know, that involves sex with minors, minors. But apparently, I don't believe this to be true. This rumor about sex with I mean, who would want to have sex with a minor?
I don't know, Padre. How you feel?
well, I'm not at liberty to speak about that for reasons. So,
Yeah, keep it underground with the minors.
yeah.
Some among your 5 children, or any of them
I mean,
underworld characters?
Oh, well, we don't talk about the underworld. Around the
Okay,
house.
okay.
But we are, as part of my work with oxygen, boss, I have patented a device that will get more and better quality oxygen down to the miners, so Gates can.
That's very thoughtful. Did you also give them a set of crayons to pass away the hours?
Yeah, but they tend to try and light them up and smoke them, which I'm not quite sure what's going on there. But yeah.
Well,
I can only lead the horse to water. I
as an
can't make him
actress-
drink.
As an actress who invented smoke it while it's lit, I'm sure you have an
yes.
opinion. But
Oh, I thoroughly support that. Yeah.
okay,
We don't talk
well,
about it.
let me tell you something though. Matt Getz, I bet you thought he couldn't write real good. You know, I'm trying to, excuse me. But his new book, My Friend the Mr. Pronoun, that really caught me by surprise. It talks about not just pronouns but adjectives and adverbs, because you would think from the way he talks that he gets them confused, but he makes very clear he knows what they are, sort of.
His my sources tell me though, boss, he still has an issue. His dangling participle is always getting him into trouble. So, but I'll come back with some more research.
Another guy whose dangling participle seems to be getting him in trouble is Madison Cawthorn, but now he is no longer in the race. He's not serving in Congress. He's putting himself out there as a speechwriter for hire. I like his motto: "Screeds to fit your needs." But I haven't really studied his website that closely. I know, though, from a recent TV show that included him along with Marjorie Taylor Greene on Stone Age wisdom. I mean, they are really talking retro when they talk about inventing, something prior to the wheel. And
Is that?
I know
Oh,
those.
look at that. Is that an allegation or an alligator, boss? I can't quite tell.
Well, speaking of them, we're really talking about Ron DeSantis, and I'll give you the background for what Sal is saying. The Republicans who are running for office have decided that they need to look more humane and more sensitive, and so a lot of them have been showing pictures of their pets, pictures of their pets. And this one of Ron DeSantis apparently shows his favorite alligator. Kind of a bad choice of pets. I mean, in a close political contest. And that's what he was talking about. But the problems with Trump allies don't just stop at Republicans per se. They also include people like Alex Jones. And my investigators, here again you see an instant report in the Know comment journal. They did a scathing investigation of the Alex Jones files. If you haven't had time to read it, I want to point out several things. First of all, Alex Jones apparently, he's saying in court these days, I don't have any money, I can't pay damages in these lawsuits. I don't have any money. But you know what? He spent a lot of that money on assets that he doesn't really want to mingle with the hoi polloi. I guess.
Yeah, my sources tell me that he's actually declared the entire city of Houston to be his homestead, so that can't be touched by any lawsuits. So it's a rare case of somebody doing a fairly clever legal thing.
I see. I guess Austin was too close to the ground and spread out, so he had to go to a big urban area to homestead. But that's not all. In addition to that, he has spent a lot of money buying up power plants, electrical grids across the state. And while we're talking about the state, I wonder if that has anything to do with the reliability of our energy system here in the state. Noah, is this bothering you? What getting a little too close for comfort?
I am having a thoughtful moment.
Okay, a thoughtful. I don't want to interrupt that. And speaking of thoughtful moments, you know how thoughtful people sometimes get into hot water financially, and they need to be bailed out by someone? Well, Alex Jones apparently bailed out a number of people. We have a photograph here from the, well, it's the Portable Intelligence Unit. I don't know Portable Intelligence Unit of what. It's an eyes-only document, and it says that it's citizens thought to be purchased by Alex Jones. Now, I don't know what he does with these people that he's purchased, or what he's promised them, or what he expects to get from them.
Well, boss, are we talking about the students he purchased so he could pay off student loans? Because I'm one of them. I got a ton in student loans, and he's got, you know, the contract is ridiculous. I got to read that man, the Very Hungry Extortionist. It's his favorite bedtime story. I got to read it to him every night until he falls asleep.
Okay, I knew somebody had to be in charge of that. I'm really sorry that that's one of your burdens.
Well, it was supposed to be the, you know, the...
Can't one of your kids do that?
Well, you know, they get busy with stuff. You know
Okay,
how
okay,
kids
all
are. They're
right.
teenagers.
Are you applying that? Are you reading that before or after the gummy suppositories?
Oh no, the gummy suppositories, that's actually a classmate of mine. She had to pay for med school. So, ooh.
That's her career path.
Yeah, they actually gave her course credit for that though, at least.
Wow. She wears I guess, some good protective gear.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She has to.
you
You
know,
don't want to know.
okay, so we have mentioned some of the people around the Republican Party and the ex-president who are having some difficulties, but the Republicans do have some so-called midterm issues that they're focusing on. One of those is crime. Now, I have seen some of these ads already on TV. It's that political time of year before the midterms, and you see all of the TV ads, and they're about, oddly enough, they're about bicycle theft. Is what a lot of the candidates for office are saying. You know, well, is your bicycle I can't remember the exact words, but this convinced me that it was important to look at the actual uniform crime reports about what kinds of crime are actually increasing. Now, number one, look at that at the top, an increase of 77% in theft of odd-smelling fruits. Where have we heard that before?
Oh, I know.
You know, that's okay. Secondly, another crime, cheating on tax returns. These aren't the kind of things that Republicans seem to be, I mean, they're talking about rampant crime in the streets, but look at and then another one, an increase of 48% in destruction of mail-in ballots. Isn't that fascinating? Well, and I don't understand this last one about the sale of counterfeit cheese products, but maybe, Sal, you can explain that in terms of some of the food as fuel.
Yeah, there's counterfeit cheese is becoming a problem, boss, but because it's really difficult to cut, and you really if you're gonna have cheese, you want to be really able to cut the cheese. So
yeah, but it smells pretty good, right?
Yeah, it smells a bit like.
Another thing, they talk about womenflation as the biggest problem we have. Well, what they're really trying to tell you is that women seem to be looming as the biggest danger for the dominance of certain male individuals of our species. The retros seem to think this is a new problem, but it has been going on for a long time because a lot of people in a dress are in charge of things lately. So there you have it. And of course, you saw again, my investigators have one of the first reports. Now, we have mentioned for a moment there student loans, but I think there has been an improper translation of what Biden actually said. He said he was going to pardon student loans, which I guess is a good idea. And then after that, it's possible that he may pardon bicycle thieves, which would take care of a couple of our problems if we make that not a crime. But let me tell you, is what this comes down to, as you can see, is what we have is a bitter, bitter fight for control of Congress. And that depends on how people vote. So I want to give you a backgrounder about how much people are fighting in those two big parties. You know where Fairbanks is?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a unanimity?
Sure.
Okay. Fairbanks is a pretty cold place. It's in Alaska. I mean, it often snows on your cars up there. The Republican Party wants to keep people from voting, but at the same time, they want you to believe that they're trying to increase the opportunities for people to vote. So how do you accomplish something like that? Well, in case you didn't hear this, the Republican Party announced that it is now possible for anybody to vote by mail. Anybody. Except that your ballot has to come from Fairbanks. Look at this post office box in Fairbanks where the ballots are being deposited. It looks like it's already being seriously abused, that mailbox in Fairbanks. But what did the Democratic Party leaders decide to do? They changed the names of many of our major cities to Fairbanks. Let me have another picture of that mailbox. Even from that side, you can see. But this Fairbanks mailbox is actually in Detroit, not in Fairbanks, Alaska. And so then the Republicans decided, okay, it has to be from the state of Alaska, this mail-in ballot. And so what did the Democrats do? Let's look at another of those mailboxes. They changed the names of many of our states to Alaska. And so if you're missing my point, folks, these people will stop at nothing to try to get your vote. One thing the Republicans want to do to maybe get your vote is to talk about Hunter Biden's laptop. And by the way, somebody seems to have found it. Maybe one of my investigators. I think they can tell you what is actually in that laptop. First of all, there are some directions to a master bathroom, I think in Mar-a-Lago. Why someone would want to find the master bathroom, excuse me. Why?
Isn't that where all the classified documents are stored after they're torn up and flushed? So I think
yes. Okay. And the second thing that we found in that laptop was a Stop the Steal dossier, and I'm not saying S-T-E-A-L. I'm saying like Ronald, S-T-E-E-L-E, Stop the Steal.
McDonald.
Yes. And finally, there are a bunch of blank checks in that laptop. Now, I don't know who those checks were going to be written to. Actually, are those
Actually, boss, I think if you look carefully, you can find that it's actually cereal, not
that
checks.
blank checks? Oh, I see. It's not actually money.
No, it's
So I guess what
it's a bit like cryptocurrency, which isn't really money either, but it doesn't stop people from trading in it. So
what that tells me is this whole thing about Hunter Biden's laptop was kind of an overblown production, if that's all they found in there. But good for them if they would. I don't know what they're going to use that for. I mean, I could use a blank check. I'm pretty hungry, and I thought those were the foods that were being investigated for use as fuel.
Yeah, speaking of blank checks, I had a cousin from Prague. He didn't really say much. He just kind of choked on his breakfast one morning. Nobody knows what happened.
I guess it didn't involve any intelligent agencies, did it?
No, but he fell down the stairs and out a hospital window all at the same time.
Whew. One of you's going to have to write a book on defenestration one of these days, and then we'll have to explain to people what that verb is about. I mean, actually, it's a dangling participle, but okay. Twitter. Let me digress for a minute. Twitter is about to be absorbed into the empire of Elon Musk, and he says, for example, that 75% of the staff he can do without them. So we are already seeing some blurbs about what the new Twitter is going to look like. Shout what you must. I guess that means nobody is going to be auditing what people say on the new Twitter. The other thing that struck me as provocative, this idea that there are 5 sides to every argument. That's another one of their current advertising positions. And they say that on the new Twitter, you'll be able to hear all of them. And they're also going to the streets. You're going to have tweets from the street.
Oh, boss, you know, looking back in the day, we used to you could go to New York City and everybody would tweet. We didn't need Twitter. We would tweet in each other's faces, you know, like hashtag some stuff about your grandma. And, you know, I mean, basically, you know, kind of NSFW, as they say. But, yeah, I mean, tweet on the street that's an old concept. We've been doing that for 40 years.
Coming back around, huh?
Yeah.
That's right. On the new Twitter, no one can hear you scream.
That would make it pretty, I mean, it would be more democratic that way, I guess. Or fewer people would fall downstairs and out of windows.
They would fall upstairs.
Yeah.
Oh, Prague's a wild place, isn't it?
Yeah, he was visiting Moscow at the time.
Oh, okay, that
He
makes
was from
sense.
Prague.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You probably know about the Instagrammy Awards. This is the newest in the, you know, we seem to have like a continual parade of awards things going on. You have Emmys and Oscars, and now you have Instagrammys. And the first Instagrammy is going to Lizzo, and that's because she played a 2 centuries old riff on one of James Madison's boots. But there is some consideration now being given to an entry by the artist formerly known as, I guess he was known as Boo or Goofball, or the artist formerly known as Def Con. Anyway, I understand that he is going to perform the Yellow Mellow Jello Fellow on cello and bellows in an upcoming James Madison Garden event, benefiting survivors of the 1927 Sheep Walk. I remember that. Popular music covers all sorts of issues these days. It's not afraid to go anywhere, but I'm not sure people want to go anywhere with the artist formerly known as DEF CON. Anyway, there's also Genius Awards. Now, a lot, and you've probably heard of the Genius Awards. A lot of people have trouble parking these days. Am I right? This is what it usually looks like when you're looking for a parking space. But there's a guy, this guy named Mortimer Shue invented a vertical parking operation. It's not even a building. It's, you know, the first thing I noticed, the Genius Awards people need to get a better text editor or copy editor. I
well,
can see.
I think they're outsourcing it to the AI, the artificial intelligence, or
and
something.
the AI seems to be making some grammatical errors. But anyway, I wanted to ask you people, since I don't understand it, how does he get those cars to park one atop the other? Technically, I mean, I can see how it saves a lot of space, but I don't see how he does it.
Big ramps. Hot Wheels for kids.
Okay,
And airlifts.
okay.
I had a completely
You get-
different.
You get the hydraulics going, and if you get it going at a resonant frequency, it will just magically jump 20 or 30 feet in the air, and then you just kind of push it sideways. And it's quite a fascinating process, actually.
Sounds like food to me.
I figured this award was given to the guy I yelled at the other day. That I told him, you don't have to take 2 spaces to park a Fiat, genius. And I thought
Right.
that's where it came from. But
Okay, well, let me quickly point out there was another Genius Award given to a guy who invented a new kind of hearing aid. I tried it out myself. This small model, you only hear in your environment, you only hear things that you agree with. But there's another bigger model, it's more expensive. You only hear what you're thinking. And then there's this other invention. I'm not sure what this is, and I don't think any of you guys have been able to explain it to me, but there it is, the Variacom pudensalizer. I'm not sure what it does.
Can you say that twice?
No, I'm not. I wasn't even supposed to say it once. And I would have misspelled it according to what the genius people have to say.
I think the pudensal is how you apply those gummies to Alex Jones.
It could be that. Hurricane season is almost over, but you know, nature is doing a bunch of weird things lately. And so did you know that the Congress set up committees to find more interesting names for hurricanes, because we've got the same old names coming up all the time? I saw one of the lists. For example, the first one was talking about corporations. I kind of like the sound of Hurricane Apple or Hurricane Exxon. Some of them don't really have the sound that you want. So another thing they tried to do was make a list of hurricane names based on body parts. And so, I mean, I kind of like Hurricane Bladder and Hurricane Aorta, but on...
well, you know what? I got to tell you, boss, look out if you get to Hurricane Uterus, it's going to be a real bad season. You're about to have a rough season if it hits at the wrong time.
I'll tell you what, when I looked at some of these names, I wasn't sure I had an ischium on my body, so I can see why they abandoned that list. And then another thing they were trying to do was in this third list I looked at, they started to name important people in the past Trump administration. It turned out the names they kept selecting were people who already had legal problems or they were retired. They resigned from and so they gave up on that list. But anyway, fall TV season is here. A couple of things are noteworthy. One of them is the new show Homeless and Loving It, which I think is based on one of Noah's early books. And then Beast New York is another one, and I think that is based largely on some of the stuff you said about sex with minors. But,
Oh, yeah.
but let's not get too involved in that. You know what? We're back to, it's almost time for the World Series. And because it's almost time for the World Series, I am thinking back to these days, a long time ago. I've been watching baseball forever. I remember when, for example, Mortimer Shue hit 78 home runs a long time ago, way before steroids. And I think that was because they only had infields.
Yes, yeah, and you know, Mortimer, fun fact, he hit those in 1 inning. So
Yeah,
that was, the
that's
game was
pretty
insane
long
by the
yeah,
end of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the whole reason the teams had to have 31 players was because they only had the infield. So if you hit a home run, you needed 22 guys in the outfield.
I
Not
understand,
yet the
yeah.
outfield, but yeah, I mean, it was,
I
the
didn't
payroll
really
was
see
insane.
it. They didn't have them on TV, but I did hear some of those games on the radio.
Oh yeah, guys talking a mile a minute about that. Yeah.
I think Mortimer, boss, I think he actually pioneered, it wasn't steroid era, but it was the odd-smelling fruit era. So I believe he was one of the pioneers of using odd-smelling fruit, and that enabled him
Well,
to hit the 77 home runs in 1 inning.
In the old days, they used to name baseball teams after like animals, like the sexy oysters, and I think they had the odd-smelling fruits. But then in later days, everything was named after corporations, including the stadiums and so forth. So I don't know what to make of it. I'm glad it's time for the World Series again because it was a long baseball season. But we are now in the time frame where most people celebrate Halloween, and that includes things like haunted houses. I was apprised by my staff here that actually a whole lot of housing, maybe 18% of the housing in this country is already haunted. For example, you live in a place with no electricity. I guess that counts as haunted.
I mean, it's sure haunted by my landlord. I'll tell you that much.
And you live in a home without plumbing, right? And so
Yeah, that's not too big an issue, boss. There's
it's not
no
haunted.
The outhouse is haunted, so it can be a disconcerting experience to head out there in the middle of the night. But
And,
I'm a trooper. I can get through it.
And no, I guess you don't act. I mean, based on your book about homeless and loving it, you don't actually live in a house. You just move from town to town. And
That's right, from one club to the next. I go to the tattoo parlor, I say, where's the right place? Then I go and I listen to Bela Lugosi's Dead for about 3 hours or whatever else the DJ drops.
So are some of the freeways that you live under, are they haunted as well?
Only when I arrive.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I hope this has been an educational experience for those of you out there because, we can only get to so much in this little hour that we spend with you. And when we covered all of these subjects, understand we're not going to give you the stuff you already know. We just want to let you know that there's more to the story than you've been told. And if you have sainthood in your future, or if you are smelling the roses and also the fruits outside your home, and if you are stalking anything, I hope it's the truth.
And I do want to express my appreciation, boss, for your taking the time and working with us to break these stories. And I feel like all 213 of my fellow investigators are a band of brothers. In fact, well, maybe not you, but can we?
Oh, what are we gonna do? A circle here? All right.
Buy my Putensil.
I come home